The first step, since the area of the trapezoid is would be it's 1/2 times the height times the sum of the diagonal. We decided the first thing that we need to do is figure out what? Nope.
What the base is?
This base is 14, this base is 8. Bill, we need to find the height. So we'll go ahead and draw a height. Okay, now we know we have a 45, we know two things. Number one, we know we have a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. But we also know what else? While you ponder, weak and weary. Once upon a midnight dreary. While he pondered weak and weary, just leave it on my desk first. And put the you can put your hand down. You can put your hand down. Luigi. Okay. I said the first thing that we know is that we have a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. What are the other two things we know now that we've drawn a height? Give me one thing that we know. What do you observe about this figure? That's right. But we know other things now. Larry. What else do we know? Based on someone walks in the room and asks you what else besides what's written on the board. What do you know about this figure? Yes. What new information do we have? That drawing the height doesn't change doesn't add to the fact that it's already a trapezoid. Name something new that we now know because we drew that height. What?
It's like 2 from the dotted line.
It's 2? So you're telling me that from the dotted line to here is 2.
I don't know.
Not what you're telling me. No. So what are you telling me? Put your hands down. Because I'm not calling on you. Unless I pull your name out of that cup. What do you know? You don't know anything. Terrible way to go through life, not knowing anything. Of course, you must be really happy because ignorance is bliss. Anna.
Yes, it is.
Anna, what do you know?
I know nothing. There's a square?
Okay. How do you know it's a square? It looks like a square.
I don't know.
I told you, you guys can put your hands down. I'm not calling on you.
I give you a break.
Unless I pick your name out of the popsicle stick.
Volunteer.
Still.
The bottom side also.
That the whole thing? But I said
No. Listen, the dotted line.
How do you know that from the dotted line here is 8?
Because
If this is 8, what else do we know, Luigi?
From the dotted line to the right is 6.
Is 6.
Oh.
Okay. Now, let's go over this mathematically so you understand. And then let's go over what's obvious. First of all, let's do that backwards. Let's go over this, the obvious. E. Based on what you see in front of you, can you tell me the length of the height? I'm sorry, there is no obvious way. You can't assume that it's a square, even though the opposite sides are the same length. That just means it's a rectangle. So, we need to do this mathematically. We know that this is a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. We know that the ratio of the sides of a 45, 45, 90 right triangle are x, x, and x square root of 2. You put your hand down. Then you need to write out path. Dylan, given this information, what's the value of h?
Actually, I have no idea.
What does this mean? What does this mean to you?
Like a ratio.
What does it mean to you, though? Explain it to me. What does it say?
The 3 sides, I guess. Yeah, the 3 sides of the triangle and times each other and then times by the third.
Okay, good. So you understand what it means.
Yeah.
Now look at the problem and apply the information that's in the problem to what you already know. If we know that this side of the triangle is 6, can you figure out what the length of the height is?
No.
Do you? Are you sure?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Andy, how about you? Dylan's correct. The ratio of the sides, if we have a 45, 45, 45, 45, 90 triangle, we know that these two sides are congruent. So, given that knowledge, if this side of the triangle is 6, what do we know about the height? So it's 62? That's correct. I know what to do.
Christmas tree.
That's right. If the two sides are congruent, and we know that they are, because it's a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, if this side is 6, Dylan, and others, then this side also has to be 6. So we really, rolling. So we know that h is 6. Does anybody have any questions on how we came to have h be 6? No, I said you can't assume it's a square just because those two sides are congruent.
But there's 2 points.
So what? Just like this one, right?
Wait, so that side of the triangle 6 too?
Exactly.
Alright.
That's what we just spent 10 minutes doing. Yes. You thought what?
That's green. Okay, okay, stop it.
Yeah, that's like a button.
Say that again. Okay, x rad 3 and 2x, that's a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. All right, now, question, Micaiah. It's a yes or no question. Can you now figure out the area of that triangle
Yes.
given what you know?
Yes.
Okay, my follow-up question is, can you please do that for us?
And
Okay,
so do half of 6, which is 3.
okay, I'm sorry, say it again.
Do half of the height, 3.
Okay, so half of 6
Yeah.
times,
Times.
I'm listening.
Hold on, no, it's open. What's the
Distant.
Okay. That's gonna be.
Actually, you know what, this is my fault, I should say, B, B for base.
That makes sense.
Oh.
I mean, if you call it B or D, it doesn't really matter, as long as you understand it's the base. Okay,
Then you do 8 times 8, which is 64. No. No.
okay, this is a plus sign.
Oh. So it's 16.
So this one is,
8.
this one is
Oh, 14.
15. So I have 1/2 of 6, which is 3. 8 plus 14 is 22. 3 times 22, 66. Okay, did anybody do this a different way? Or put another way, could you do this a different way to get the area once you have the height? Jack, how would you do it? Never mind?
Yeah, I think I do that.
Okay, Micaiah?
I don't get how you got the height. Like, why?
Given.
Why do you get?
Oh,
Like, how do you
okay.
get 6?
Okay, this is a 45. Can anybody answer Micaiah's question? How do you get 6, Jack?
The base and the height of 45 and height of 45 is the same.
Right. If these two angles are the same, that makes it what kind of triangle? An isosceles triangle. What do you know about an isosceles triangle? Right, so if this is 6, this has to be 6. Does anybody see another way? Once you learn that this is 6, did you say
Yeah, but couldn't you get the hypotenuse?
do I need the hypotenuse?
I thought you said the side of that was 6.
It is.
All of them?
No, that would make it an equilateral triangle. Well, first of all, you need to stop talking. There's like 3 or 4 of you, like little chirping birds. And it's very disruptive to me. Probably the people seated around you. Secondly, if you can't answer my questions, even though I'm calling on somebody else, if you can't answer the question, you need to be listening and not talking. Okay, now, my question was, does anybody see, now, up to the point where we get the value of h, the only way to do it is to see what kind of triangle it is and use that information. Bill. Yes, that's once we get the height. My question is, how can you figure out the area a different way than using the trapezoid area formula? That's my question. Does anybody see another way to do it? Riley.
Let's do length times height
Of?
of the triangle.
Is that the formula for the area of a triangle?
No.
No, so then I can't do that. But you're on the right track. Jack, you were alluding to this earlier. I'm surprised you didn't make the connection. What shape is this? It's a rectangle. How do you find the area of a rectangle?
Use a formula. Base times.
Base times height, length times width. What is the area of the rectangle? 48. What is the formula for the area of a triangle? 1/2 base times height.
Yes.
What's the base?
6.
What's the height?
6.
What's 1/2 6 times 6?
18.
18. So the area of this is 18. The area of the triangle is 18. The area of the rectangle is 48. 48 plus 18 is 66. What? What?
I like that way better.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you did base times height, the
Of?
the rest. There's like
No. There's one number for the length, the base, and there's one number for the height. What
it
other?
says okay, it's like 8, 8, and 6.
6 on the triangle.
Oh, never mind.
Yes, Andy. Right up there. Okay, are there any questions?
H is 6.
Okay. I want to go on and cover the rest of what we need to cover. Time permitting, I will.
6.
Yeah, H is
Time permitting, we'll go back and I'll give you a practice problem. But you'll have more practice at the very least on tonight's homework. Okay. The other two shapes I want to talk about today. Again, I don't know why I hear all the chatter. If you guys know this already, fine. I'll then give you practice problems. Otherwise, you need to be listening and not talking. Don't understand why I need to say this multiple times during a class period. It's ridiculous. If it continues, what you're going to find is you're going to find yourself in assigned seats. Okay, so the area, the formula for the area of a rhombus and the formula for the area of a kite are the same. You take the length of the two diagonals, you multiply them together, and then you multiply that by 1/2. The other way to say that would be the product of the diagonals divided by 2. Now I have to warn you, bless you, I must warn you, this formula is not on the reference sheet.
So we have to know it.
So you better know it.
Why are they using it?
What?
Why are they using it?
Because D stands for diagonal.
I usually
In
use
this
it.
case, what?
Usually
You can use anything that will help you understand it, yes. Okay, so here's a typical question. You have a kite, and we need to use the kite formula, which is 1/2 the product of the two diagonals. What's the small problem that needs to be addressed before we can actually figure out the answer, Jack? No, they're not symmetrical, but it's a kite, not a rhombus.
It's
Right.
supposed to be equal length from this side. No, John, you're off. I'm in. Yeah.
That's a kite. That's a kite. Riley?
We've gone lengths on the sides.
Nope. do the lengths of the sides help us with that formula?
It doesn't. You gotta add them.
Add
The 5 and the 2 and the 3 and the 30.
exactly. You need to get the length of the diagonal. You have to add the length of each individual segment together. So this plus this is 7. So diagonal number 1 is 7, and diagonal number 2 is 6. So I get 1/2 7 times 6. Of course, there's different ways to do this. You could either take half of 6 and multiply by 7, or you could multiply the two numbers together and then divide by 2. What is it? 21.
That's the answer? That's a lot easier than the other one.
That's the answer. You think so, huh?
I do.
Okay. Okay.
I know how to do it.
Do you? Let's see. Let's see who does. Let's see who has some ideas about this. Guess who's first? Eve. Okay, Eve. Name something that we know. Remember, let's put the formula up on the board. Okay. I want you to tell me something that I can use, other than what we see, that will get me closer to my solution. Let me ask you, let me put it this way. What are we going to need to know the lengths of in order to use the formula?
Lost like a dentist.
That's right. What Eve said was we need these lengths. All three. But we have one, and we can get a second one. John, can you tell me the length of one other segment? Remember, we need 1, 2, 3, and 4. We've got one of them already, but we can figure out the length of another segment without doing anything except observing. Can you tell me the length of that second segment? Don't know? Can someone help? Riley?
2.5.
Which one is 2.5?
The other side.
That's right. Remember, diagonals bisect each other. On a rhombus, diagonals bisect. We know that this one is 2.5. Okay. Ooh, who's this? Jumping out once to volunteer. Kanaya. Okay. What can we use to get the length of this side? No, you can't. What formula? Excuse me. Jack? The Pythagorean theorem. That would be a right triangle. So can you set that up for me? Here I've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared. What do I know?
A squared plus 2.5 squared equals.
Or I'm just going to call this a. Equals what?
6.5 squared.
Very good. Okay, is there anybody who doesn't see that? Is there anybody who does not see that I have a right triangle? And if I have a right triangle and I have two sides of that right triangle, I can use the Pythagorean theorem to figure out that third side. So how do I figure out my answer? I'm going to go to my calculator. So first I'm going to do 2.5 squared. Gives me 6.25. So this gives me 6.25. I do 6.5 squared. 6.5 squared gives me 42.25. Subtract 6.25 from both sides. 42.25 gives me what? B squared is 36, so that means that B equals 6. So if this side equals 6, and the bottom side equals 6. So now I have the length of both diagonals. I have the 5 that Riley provided for us, and I have this length, which is, how long is this?
12.
12. So here's my formula, 1/2 the product of the diagonals. So that's 1/2 5 times 12, which is 1/2 of 60, which
30.
is 30.
I think we learned a lot today with this discussion.
You do, huh? Me too.
What's
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Yes, what's the homework?
Homework's on the board.